Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another Movement Meditations. This is lesson 46. So we're almost at 50. Today's lesson, I want to focus on maybe kind of continuing a little bit what we did on Tuesday, looking at how the back moves as we do other activities. So one of the things that I would like to focus on today is how we lift our knees. So that's something that obviously we're doing. Morning, Colette. Sorry, I'm a bit late. A couple of technical issues getting the stream set up. As you lift your knees, or we lift our knees on a very regular basis. If we don't encounter stairs, we're lifting our knees just as we walk. But in some way, throughout our daily movement activities, if our legs feel heavy and immobile, that's going to have quite a drastic effect on our willingness to move. So the lighter and the freer our legs can feel, the more we feel comfortable moving, and we want to move and engage with life. That's something that I would like to pick up today. The starting position is going to be in sitting. When you're ready, if you just find a comfortable position to sit in. If you can today, to be sitting forward on the front of the chair so that you're resting on your sitting bones. Now, the sitting bones are these little points here. And if you organize your pelvis so you're sitting on the front of the chair, you can be sitting very gently on the sitting bones. Great. So to start the lesson, the first thing I'd like you to do is, like we did in Tuesday's lesson, I'd like you just to bend down and look down at the chair. Feeling as you bend down and look down at the chair, what's happening in your middle back? Is there some sense of movement and reorganization of your middle back as you look down at the chair? Good. And just do that movement 1 or 2 times just to see how that feels. And then I'd like you to come to that comfortable sitting position. And as you sit there, if you've got your 2 feet on the floor, I'd like you to very gently just lift up your left knee a few times. So your foot can be lifted off the floor as well. And just notice kind of how that is for you at the beginning of the lesson. Is that something that's comfortable for you? Do you feel able to lift up the left knee comfortably away from the floor? So this is obviously gravity has some effect, and the weight and the legs have some weight to them. So that you're going to feel that as you lift the legs up, you're feeling the weight of the leg, and you're feeling that weight being lifted within gravity. So there's some effort involved in doing this movement. Good. And let the left leg rest. And then try the same thing on the right leg. Lift up the right leg a few times and notice, does it feel easier as you do it initially than the left leg? And if you're unsure, you can always go back to the left and just lift the left leg a few times. Good. So if hopefully it's clear to you that that there's some effort involved in lifting the leg, and maybe that there's some difference between lifting one leg and the other. Okay. Now what I'd like you to do is just go back to the left leg. Very gently, as you lift the left leg, allow yourself to rock very gently backwards on the pelvis. So this is the reason that we are sitting on the sitting bones. That as you lift the left knee now, just allow your pelvis to rock very gently backwards, so that there's some kind of developing relationship between the knee and the pelvis. And does that make lifting the knee easier? Does it make it more difficult? Try that movement a few times. Take a little rest, and then do the same thing on the right leg. So that as you lift the right leg now, very gently rock the pelvis backwards. And as you rock the pelvis backwards, just feeling that relationship, does that make rocking does that make lifting the knee easier? Or does it make it more difficult? What do you notice as you do it? Good. Just do it a few times. Breathing comfortably as you make this movement. And then before you do anything, take a little rest and then just lift the left knee a couple of times and see how that feels now. And lift the right knee a couple of times and see how that feels. Is there a different sense developing of your ability to lift each leg? Good. Okay, so the next thing I'd like you to do is bring your weight across to the left side of the body so that more of your weight is down into your left sitting bone. And then in that position, I'd like you to very gently try and lift up your left leg, your left knee, and just see how that feels with more of your weight organized over onto the right side of the sitting bone. Sorry, the left sitting bone, not the right sitting bone. And notice if that changes the ability or the lightness in your left leg. Good. Come back to the middle. And try the same thing on the right side. So bring your weight over to the right side of the body and just lift the right leg. And see how that feels now. Does it make it easier or more difficult to have the weight organized onto the side of the pelvis that you're lifting the knee? Good. Keep your weight organized over onto your right side and see if you can lift up your left knee in that position. See if you can lift the left foot away from the floor, keeping your weight organized over onto the right side of your pelvis. Just do that movement a few times. And notice, is the lifting the left leg easier when the weight is organized over onto the right side of the pelvis? Good. Come back to the middle, take a little rest. And then we're just going to flip over and do the other side as well. So when you're ready, when you had a moment to rest and just allow yourself to recover from that movement, switch your position so your weight's more over on the left side. So you're sitting on the left sitting bone and you're ready in some way now to lift up the right leg. And just lift the right leg a few times. And notice as you lift the right leg in this position with your weight organized over onto your left sitting bone, does your pelvis also rock backwards gently? Is there some sense that as you lift the knee, that you're moving backwards or moving forwards in your pelvis? Good. Once you've done that a couple of times, come back to the middle and just take a little rest. So there's a few different variations we're going to do in this lesson. So I'm kind of going through them at a specific pace. But if you need to take a break and slow down a little, that's okay. So now what I'd like you to do, just notice again. So lift the right knee and lift the left knee and see if either of them has become lighter. Okay. So now what I'd like you to do is begin to lift the left knee and take your head towards the knee. So you're going to do this very slowly, keep breathing. But as you lift the left knee, you're going to take the head in the direction of the left knee. so that it's making a movement in the spine in a similar way than we did on Tuesday's lesson. And notice how your spine moves as you do this. Lifting the left knee and taking the head in the direction of the left knee as it comes up. So that the two things are being organized together. And you don't need to get to the point that the head touches the knee. If that's something that's easy for you, of course, that's something that you can do. But it's really a direction. So it's the head going in the direction of the knee rather than that being the point of this movement. And notice as you do this movement, lifting the left knee, taking the head towards the left knee, do you rock backwards on your pelvis? Good. And then take a rest. Just notice how you're sitting. What's the sense of sitting on the chair? How do you feel in contact with the chair? And maybe even as you let go of lifting the legs, how do your feet feel in contact with the floor? Just check in with your breathing. And lift the left leg slightly off the floor, lift the right leg slightly off the floor, and just see how those feel now as you do that movement. Is it changing? Do you get a different sense of kind of heaviness or lightness in the legs? Okay, so now what we're going to do is the same thing on the other side, taking the head in the direction of the right knee as you lift the right knee up. Okay, so again, lifting the right knee up and taking the head towards it. But this is a direction and you don't need to get there. But you can notice as you do this movement, this really does do something in the whole of your spine. So this is not just isolating one part of the body. This is creating a global movement. So that as you lift your knee and you look towards your knee with your head, your whole body is organizing for this movement. So it's really not like a gym class where you're kind of trying to tone a specific muscle group. It's actually looking for a distribution of effort across your whole system. Okay. So lifting the right knee and taking your head towards the knee as you lift the knee and separating them. And don't forget the return journey. Keep in mind that you want to keep that same sense of distribution of effort as you bring the head away from the knee and the knee away from the head. Okay, just do it maybe 1 or 2 more times. And rest your right leg. Take a short rest. When you're resting, if you just bring your hands down onto your 2 knees, and then see if you can kind of monitor just by having your hands on your knees. As you lift your left knee, what's happening in the rest of your torso? So just do that movement a few times, lifting the left knee, keeping your arm in connection with the knee. Is there a difference in the left shoulder as you lift the left knee? Is there a difference in where the weight is in your pelvis as you lift the left knee? Are there very kind of subtle changes all the way through your body? Does your head even move towards the direction of the left knee as you lift it? Good. And then try the same thing on the right side. Notice if you notice something similar or if you notice something different. So as you lift the right knee, keeping your hand connected to it, what does your right shoulder do? What does your weight do as it's connected from the pelvis to the chair? And what does your head do? Is there a change in direction that you're facing? And then just do one side and the other side and notice any differences that you sense between the two sides. Does the head do something differently as you lift the right knee to when you lift the left knee? Does the weight do something different as you lift one side than the other? And when I say different, I mean like different to the exact opposite. So, for example, as I lift my right knee, my head very naturally turns towards the right. As I lift my left knee, it's slightly less organized. Sorry, as I lift my left knee, it's slightly less organized. And my head doesn't quite do exactly the same thing as when I lift my right knee. And the same in terms of weight shift. So see if you can feel that. Is there some kind of subtle difference from one side to the other? Good. Okay, take a little rest. Okay, now we're going to do something that I can only, I can't really demonstrate, I can only show you. I can only describe it to you. So I want you to put both of your elbows on your two knees. So you're going to have to bend forward in order to do this. Hopefully this is a possible position for you. If it isn't, you can just stay in this position with your hands on your knees and see if you can kind of replicate the same thing. So as you've got your elbows resting on your knees, that provides a degree of curve in your spine is very naturally there just from being in that position. Okay. If you want, just to stabilize the position, you could have your hands together and just connect them to your chin, but keep your two elbows resting down on each knee. And then what I'd like you to do is very gently begin to lift the right knee a few times in this position. And it can be a fraction of a movement. You don't need to lift it much. It's just even organizing the body to lift the knee in this position is going to have a positive effect on our ability to lift the knee in general. So just try that movement a few times, having the right elbow and the left elbow on each knee and lifting the right knee away from the floor and just noticing what's happening in your back. Can you keep your head soft? Maybe you want to have your eyes looking down. Just do that a few times and notice if there's any rotation in your spine. Notice if there's any weight shift in your pelvis. Good, and take a little rest. Come up and take a little rest. And when you're ready, go back down. Put both elbows on both knees. And a few times, just begin to lift the left knee in this position. Feeling what's happening in the weight in your pelvis. Feeling what's happening in the shape of your back. And the amount of rotation or the amount of bending that you feel in the spine. But again, you don't need to do a big movement. This can be very subtle. Good. Do it once or twice more. If it's really uncomfortable for you to do this, you can always just imagine moving like this. You can imagine, you could put yourself in this position if that's comfortable. And if moving's uncomfortable, you could imagine it. Or you could put your hands on your knees if coming into that position is uncomfortable and imagine that your hands are on your knees as imagine your elbows are on your knees. So you can use the imagination to kind of compensate if you are not able or it feels uncomfortable to do certain aspects. Great. So now down in that position, See if you can lift one knee away from the floor and then put it down, and then lift the other knee away from the floor and put it down. Just feeling that you can organize this movement and feel what's happening in your back as you go from one side lifting to the other side lifting. Very slowly, very gently. Again, paying as much attention to the movement back down, putting the leg down, as to the movement of lifting the knee. And you can really feel what's going on in your spine, in your lumbar spine, in your thoracic spine. Good. Do it a couple more times. And when you're ready, come back up. And find a natural position. Just take a moment to rest. See if you can be sitting comfortably on your sitting bones, that your breathing can be comfortable. And then very gently, a few times, lift up the left knee and compare that with the beginning of the lesson. And then lift up the right knee and compare that with not just the beginning of the lesson, but also with the left knee. And then you could just lift one and then lift the other. And notice kind of how your body is responding to that requirement or that activity now in a way that it wasn't earlier. Or maybe you're more aware of the different aspects involved in that movement than you were earlier. Another thing that you can do, if you want to, just for a moment, is stand up. And in standing, just lift one leg and then the other. And notice kind of all the subtle changes that your body does in order to organize lifting one leg. And then when you're ready, try the other leg. And you can really feel that, as we've kind of broken down this process and we've involved more of ourselves, we've spread the amount of effort being used to lift the leg. So it's not just leg muscles being involved, it's also the whole back being involved. But now maybe as you stand there and you lift your leg, you can really feel the detail of how involved your back is in lifting your legs. And maybe, you want to go for a walk after this or go for a walk later and just see if you can kind of keep some awareness of what's happening in your back as you lift one leg and then the other. So great. That's today's lesson. Tomorrow, again, sorry for this morning, I was 10 minutes late. There was some technical issues with the feed and I had to restart my computer. So tomorrow is the final lesson of this week. That's going to be lesson 47, I think. And then 3 more before 50 next week. So that sounds like I'm kind of counting down, and in some way I am. I think it's been a really big challenge for me to put these last few lessons out. So I appreciate anyone that's watching them. I feel like offering these short lessons in this format, in sitting, is a really nice way to access the Feldenkrais method. And I'm very grateful for anyone that's watched it and benefited. If you want to watch any of the previous lessons, they are in my Facebook community group, which is a link in the description. And there's also a link to my PayPal account if you'd like to make a small contribution. Okay, thanks very much. I will see you tomorrow morning at 11. I'm also teaching on Saturday a full hour-long Feldenkrais lesson, and on Sunday a Qigong and Tai Chi class in the morning. If you're interested in either of those, please let me know. Okay, take care. Have a good day. Bye.